Hello everyone, welcome to Get My Class. Today we are going to solve this question which says which among the following is the biggest concern of plant breeding? Option A, procurement of desirable gene in the crop and its wild relatives. Option B, the facilities to perform breeding. Option C, technical and practical aspects. Option D, gene transfer. Let us understand the question. It says which among the following is the biggest concern of plant breeding? So what do you mean by, so first let us understand the important words which are mentioned here. Plant breeding. What do you mean by plant breeding? Plant breeding is nothing but the process of manipulation. Okay, it is a process of manipulation. What do you mean by manipulation? Um, manipulation of plant species, you can say, of plant species to obtain plants with desired characteristics. To obtain plants with desired characteristics. Now this plant breeding, there are many methods of plant breeding. Okay, but then the main purpose of plant breeding is of course to have improved or high yield, you can say improved yield or high yield. So that is the main purpose. Okay, high yield, or you can say some resistant to disease or disease resistant. Okay, resistant, and then you can say drought resistant. That is again a bigger issue, right? Like there are many places where there is not much water. So in that place, they should produce drought resistant plants. So they should be drought resistant. Okay, so there are different varieties to have different characteristics, which is the desired characteristics we are talking about. So that is done by plant breeding technology. Now, to start with the plant breeding method, whatever the method is, whether it is classical breeding or any other method, the first requirement is nothing but the gene, or you can say germplasm. Okay? Gene pool, or you can say the germplasm. So what do you mean by germplasm? Germplasm is nothing but the collection of all the varieties, okay? All the relatives, you can say, all the relatives, or you can say the wild variety and relatives. Okay? The collection of all the wild varieties and their relatives. Okay. Why? Because the entire crop, whether it is the wild variety or its relatives or whatever the varieties are there, for example, you take wheat, whatever varieties of wheat plants are there, you have to collect. Okay, wherever they are present, wherever they are available, you have to collect them. And when you collect different varieties of wheat, and I'm just giving an example of wheat, when you collect different varieties of wheat and everything in one place, and that is considered as germplasm. Why? Because it will contain that, because all the varieties of wheat is present there, right? So what happens that there they will contain all the alleles of all the genes of that particular crop. So in this, you will know, like, in these plants, you will know that, okay, none of the genes or none of the characteristic of that particular crop is have been left off. So then what you do, now you have a full set of plants, different plants, or you may have seeds of them, whatever you have, but it belongs to, suppose, for example, wheat. So everything belongs to wheat. Now what will happen, like now you will choose the required plant with required characteristic, and you take another plant with required characteristic that is within that collection, and then you will perform the breeding technique. Okay, so procuring these wild varieties, and you have to go all over the world, in fact, sometimes, okay, so as to get the germplasm. Okay, so to collect the germplasm, you have to keep around moving and looking for the different varieties of wheat or any other plant. Okay, and that is the most difficult task of everything. So after that, you can perform the techniques or apply techniques for the breeding process. That is totally different. First, the collection of these, crop varieties is very, very important, and that is difficult as well. So option A says procurement of desirable gene in the crop and its wild relatives. Yes, that is absolutely. However, where and all will you go to collect its wild variety? Here, if you like North India, you may get one variety. South India, you may get another variety. Where and all will you be roaming? But then, if you get it with a very good characteristic, then what will you do? You will be performing plant breeding, and of course, you will get a variety which is resistant. Okay, resistant, or which is having high yield variety, high yield characteristics, or drought resistant diseases, whatever it is. So the first step, which is that is what is let's say the biggest concern. Okay? So option B says the facilities to perform breeding. Yes, these are all also concerned, but then they are not as big as the collection of the wild varieties. I hope you're understanding. Then technical and practical aspects, of course they are, but not as big as the first one. Even gene transfer. So you remember, imagine that even gene transfer is not as difficult as collecting the wild varieties. Okay. So yes, that is the correct option. So let us conclude. The answer is what? The answer is option A. So I hope you understood the explanation. Thank you, everyone.